Offense and rejection are two of the most hindering, disabling spirits when it comes to your destiny and walking in your purpose. I want to talk to you today about offense, and I want to talk to you today about rejection and how they're destiny killers, how they affect you, some of the traits that you may have or display if you're dealing with rejection or offense, and how you can no longer be bound by offense or rejection. You know, people that are offended, and I have to look at my notes because again, there's so much I can say about this and I do not want to get off course. But there are a couple of traits that you have if you're dealing in this with the spirit of offense. Typically, if you're dealing with offense, you are someone who is in isolation, you're depressed, you have pride, and you may experience sickness. With rejection, you also have pride. You may be lonely because if you're dealing with rejection, you're like a repellent. You repel people, and I'll explain more about that later. Depression, you'll deal with depression and suicide. And both of these, offense and rejection, if you're dealing with those, you will experience, you have like a negative look on things. You always see the glass half empty, or you have trauma in the past and you have fear. So trauma, fear, and really is trauma and fear. These are two things that a lot of times are at the root of those who have the spirit of offense, or they're dealing with rejection. So let's talk a little bit more about this. You know, one of the things that I feel that offense and rejection come to do, and I'm talking about from a spiritual aspect, not necessarily a personality trait, but they come to, well, the nature of the enemy is to steal, kill, and destroy, and they come to steal, kill, and destroy, and really rob you of your purpose. One of the things that people do when they're offended is they stop talking. They don't say anything. And one of the things that Satan's always trying to do with a person who has a prophetic voice is shut down the voice. They don't want you talking. And I feel like from what I've just living life and what I feel like the Lord has shown me in my walk and just being a believer is that, and even in the scripture, you know, Satan, he always tries to come after that one thing that comes after everything, but he really comes hard after that one thing that is supposed to be used by you to glorify to glorify God, right? It's what you're supposed to do to help the kingdom. So if you're supposed to be a prophet or prophetess, or you are a prophetic person, not necessarily called to be a prophet or prophetess, it is important for you to have a voice. It is important for you to speak. And when the enemy knows who you are, which is a lot of reason why our identity is not known to everyone right away, right? Because when Satan knows who you are, then the attacks begin to come. So a lot of times people won't know who you are. You'll find out your destiny later in life. And then it'll make sense. Oh, that's why I had to do that. And that's why I went through that. Yeah, because the Lord was getting you ready for something, right? But a lot of times people that are dealing with the spirit of offense, it's all about shutting your mouth. Because think about it. When you're offended, when somebody's offended, they are scared to offend and they don't want to be offensive, right? They are easily offended and they don't want to be offensive. So if you don't want to be offended, one of the behavior traits is to be quiet because you don't want to say something where someone's going to offend you, or you don't want to offend someone else. So even though you know you should say something, you don't say it because, oh, I don't want to offend them, so I'm going to be quiet. So it's two aspects in which that spirit works. The aspect of, well, I don't want to offend anybody, so let me be quiet. And, well, I don't want them offending me, so let me be quiet because I don't even want to hear it. The end result is the same. Your mouth is shut. And you don't want your mouth to be shut because you need to be able to speak what the Lord wants you to speak, right? If your mouth is shut, you cannot help those around you that you're supposed to help. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the spirit of rejection. With the spirit of rejection, when you are rejected so much, you're kind of standoffish because you just don't want to feel that rejection anymore. So you just don't even vibe with people like that, right? You're like, I'll deal with it if I have to. I'll speak if I got to, but I really don't want to deal with them, right? Because you've been hurt so many times, you've been disappointed so many times, so you don't want to put yourself in a situation where that can happen again. And again, Satan comes to destroy that purpose. So a person dealing with a lot of rejection is typically somebody without rejection operating in their life that would be outgoing. If rejection wasn't operating in your life, you would be outgoing. You would be somebody that's evangelistic. I believe the spirit of rejection is something that attacks a lot of evangelists, so that they're not dealing with people, they're closed off from people, or they misunderstand people. And so whether it's offense or whether it's rejection, it's changing your perception of how you're supposed to see things. If you're offended all the time about anything, someone can say something to you, especially if it's rooted in trauma. You're seeing everything through a stained glass. You're hearing everything through stained ears. You're not perceiving things correctly. So someone could say, oh, that could be a little bit better. And they may just generally mean it could be a little bit better. And maybe it could. But you take it as a personal attack. You take it as they're trying to insult you. Or everybody's ganging up on you just because they don't like what you did, or they felt like somebody else's idea was better and somebody else's idea could have been better. So another thing that walking in offense and rejection does is it prohibits your ability to grow and mature in the things of God. You cannot walk in your destiny. You cannot accomplish what you need to accomplish if you're always staying stuck in one spot. A tall tale sign of growth and maturity is being able to handle when people disagree with you and life goes on. Okay, we disagree. It's not the end of the world. That is a sign of just being mature in general, but especially being spiritually mature in God, because we're going to have people disagree with us. And the kingdom, we're never, ever going to agree on everything. We're going to have disagreements. And so if you find yourself dealing with offense and rejection, it's really important to stop dealing. And I'll tell you how to do that in offense and rejection, because it's literally is keeping you stagnant. Not only is it keeping you from going forward and things you need to go forward in, but it's giving you a false perspective of things around you. You are not seeing things properly. And when you don't see things properly, you're not responding properly. You're handling situations incorrectly. And that's great for the enemy, because he keeps you out of where you're supposed to be. Right? And you don't want that. All right. So how do you get delivered from offense and rejection? I'm trying to see what this says here. I wrote something down that I don't understand, but it's in my heart. It's in me, so I know what to say. So one of the things, first thing is deliverance. You need to get delivered from that. That can entail a lot of different things, right? Well, okay, get delivered. Now, what does that mean? That can mean you rejecting it. I reject your rejection. I reject your offense. I refuse to operate in that anymore. And you getting in the presence of God, you spending more time in his word, read the word, listen to the word, and pray in the spirit if you know how to do that. Deliverance can also look like you going to your man or woman of God and saying, can you pray with me? I'm dealing with rejection. I'm dealing with offense. And they can walk you through deliverance. There are different ways in which you can experience deliverance. But I don't want you to think that, I can't get delivered because I don't have nobody to pray for me. And I don't want you to not have someone to pray for you if you have access to that, right? So use wisdom and do what you feel the Lord is leading you to do in your heart, right? You can have the people, the elders in your church, or the priest or the apostle, wherever is there to pray for you at your church, pray for you. Or you can go before the Lord and reject that and pray for yourself. Another solution is you need to really get saturated in the love of God. The love of God is something that offense and rejection cannot thrive in. Because offense and rejection are two things that make people not want to deal with people in a loving manner. It makes you not like people. It makes you impatient with people. It makes you mean to people. It makes you impatient with people. You have a short temper with people. You are happier by yourself unless you need something from them. And then it's okay, I got what I need. Okay, but I don't want to deal with you anymore, right? This is not the fruit of the Spirit. We don't have to be kumbaya every 5 minutes with everybody, but we need to be able to have a genuine heart for people, and we need to be able to see people the way the Lord sees them, not as an inconvenience and not as somebody that you got to dodge because you don't want to risk how they might make you feel. Walking in love, and I That's awesome. I didn't understand what I just wrote here, but the Lord just reminded me. And now I'm like, oh, that's what I wrote. Is you need to get your confidence and your validation from him. A lot of times we have rejection and offense because we're looking for other people to validate us. We're looking for them to accept us, accept our ministry, accept our paycheck, accept our spouse, accept us, what we like to do. But we don't need that. We need to only care and not only as far as, I don't care what you think, don't talk to me, leave me alone, but the one that drives us from within wholeheartedly needs to be only the Lord. Anything else that drives us wholeheartedly is an idol, right? So we need to be mainly concerned to have our confidence in what he thinks about us. What does he say about you? If you don't know, read the word. What does he say about you? He says that as Christ is, so are you in the earth. Well, how does the Lord feel about Jesus? That's how he feels about you. He says, as Jesus is in the earth, right? Or, I'm sorry. As Jesus is, because Jesus is not in the earth. As Jesus is, so are you in the earth. He loved you so much. You're seated in Christ at his right hand. Yes, you're wonderfully and beautifully made, but that's something that people say it so much, kind of mull over, don't really get it. You know, what is Jesus' position? That's your position. Well, he loves his son unconditionally. Well, he loves you unconditionally. So you have to really grab a hold of how he really feels about you, and you have to get it so deep inside of you that people can call you anything, all kind of things under the sun. They can backstab you. They can do you wrong. And you can be like, hey, how you doing? Yep. And be like, I'm good. I know it's easier said than done. I've dealt with this personally. I've dealt with it with ministers, people in ministry that I looked up to. They are ministry leaders, and they did not do things that they were supposed to do, right? And I'm not talking about crooked people. I'm talking about people who are just human and made and have mistakes in their life they've made. And I just happen to be somebody that was affected by their mistake, right? So I know it's easier said than done, and it is a process. You may not change the way you feel overnight. But if you are serious and you say, I reject this, and you are true in your heart, and you come before the Lord asking for that change, and you're following the things that he's leading you to do in your heart, I promise you, you will experience a level of peace that nothing can compete with. Nothing. No insult. Nobody not want to do nothing with you. Nobody calling you no names, no shade, no nothing, no gaslighting. Nothing can compare to it. All right. So hopefully I gave you a little bit of insight on what offense and rejection is, what it looks like if someone's dealing with rejection and an offense, and how to get rid of it and walk in your purpose and not allow it to continue to block the things that you're supposed to do for the Lord. If you like this video, like the video. If you found the information helpful and you feel like somebody else will find it beneficial or helpful, share. And definitely subscribe for more content like this. I deal with spirit, soul, and body, so I talk about the well-being of our whole being. So I talk about spirit, I talk about soul, and I talk about body. My name's LK Way, and I'm wishing you an awesome day today. Take care.